Okay, this video goes with the practice and problem solving exercises. So what we're going to do on this one is single underline the hypothesis and double underline the conclusion. So identify the hypothesis, conclusion, hypothesis, single underline, conclusion, double underline. So if you're an American citizen, hypothesis, you're an American citizen, then have the right to vote is the conclusion. Sometimes P goes with hypothesis, Q goes with conclusion. The whole statement can be abbreviated if P then Q is how we would read that, or P implies Q. If a figure is a rectangle, so a figure is a rectangle, is hypothesis. The conclusion, it has 4 sides. If you want to be healthy, hypothesis, you want to be healthy. Conclusion, you should eat your vegetables. Okay, write each statement as a conditional. If Babe Ruth's home run record was broken, then it was by Hank Aaron, maybe. If you were Hank Aaron, then you broke Babe Ruth's home run record. So if Hank Aaron, then broke Ruth's HR record. That may not be the best one. 3x minus 7 equals 14 implies that 3x is 21. So if 3x minus 7 equals 14, then 3x's equals 21 would be the if-then form. Thanksgiving, if it is Thanksgiving, so if Thanksgiving, then 4th Thursday of November. A counter, so if a counterexample, then conjecture is false. Okay, those are some examples of that. Okay, if point in first quadrant, so if first quadrant point, then positive coordinates and 2 positive coordinates. Because in the first quadrant you got plus plus for x and y. Let's move up. Write a conditional statement for each one of these Venn diagrams. Okay, so if it's blue, then it's a color. If blue, then color. If whole, then integer. If whole number. So if whole number, then integer. If it's wheat, then it's a grain. Would be how those would work. Let's look at number 16 on. Determine if it's true or false. If it's false, find a counterexample. Okay, so if it has 8 sides, then it's an octagon. An octagon has 8 sides. That's true. If you live in a country that borders the United States and you live in Canada, well, you could live in Mexico. So that's false. And Mexico would be the counterexample. If you play sport with a bat and a ball and a bat, then you play baseball. Well, you could play... what is that? Ball and a bat. I want to say rugby, but I'm not sure. It could be rugby. So that's false. Rugby. If an angle measures 80, then it's acute. That's true. If the given statement is not in if-then form, rewrite it. Write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. Determine the truth value. Okay, there's a lot to these, so let's see what we can do. Let's move up. So it's in the if-then form. The converse. No, so here's the hypothesis, quarterback, conclusion, you play football. The converse would be, if you play football, then you're a quarterback. Okay, so we can see that could be false because you're not necessarily a quarterback just because you play football. That's the converse. The inverse, if you're not a quarterback, then you don't play football. And that's not necessarily true either. You could be a halfback, you could be a lineman. You're not a quarterback, but you could still play football. That's also a false statement. Let's see, what else? That was the inverse. Now we want the contrapositive. Now contrapositive, you flip them and make them opposite. So if you do not play football, you are not a quarterback. Yeah, I think this one makes it, because this one's going to be true, because if you don't play football, then you're not going to be a quarterback. So that one's a true one. These other ones I think are false. Pianists are musicians. So if you're a pianist, then you're a musician, would be the conditional form. I'll just talk through these. The converse would be, if you are a musician, then you're a pianist. You could be a guitar player, so that's going to be a false statement, but that would be the converse form. If musician, then pianist. The inverse form would be, if you're not a pianist, then you're not a musician. You could still be a guitar player and be a musician, so that's going to be a false statement. And then the contrapositive would be, if you're not a musician, then you're not a pianist. Which seems to be a true statement, because a pianist would be a musician. If you're not a musician, then you're not going to be a pianist. So that would be the contrapositive form. We'll skip over this algebra one for right now. Odd natural numbers less than 8 are prime. So if it's an odd natural number less than 8, then it's prime, would be the statement. The converse would be, if it's a prime number, then it's an odd natural number less than 8. That could be false or true. The contrapositive then would be, if it's not a prime number, then it's not an odd natural number less than 8. And that could or may not be true or false. Number 24, if two lines lie in the same plane, then they are coplanar. So if two lines in same plane, then coplanar. So that's the original conditional. The converse would be if coplanar, so the what's the next one? So that was, so write the converse. If coplanar, then two lines in the same plane. So this is the original statement. This is the converse. We also need to write the inverse. If not in the same plane, then not coplanar. It would be not P, not Q. That's inverse. And then the last one they want us to write is the contrapositive. So we have the Q up front with not and the P with a not. So if not, I'm just going to add red in here. So if not coplanar, then not in the same plane. And that would be the contrapositive. So those would be the forms for that.